Okay, now let's take a look at using Battery's Master Effects section. And this is where we select the effects that we wish to apply over the entire drum group. So this is in contrast to this Effects tab here, which only applies to the individual cells that you've selected before making your alterations. Master applies to all of them. So when I load this tight kit, which is in acoustic kits, it's the second from the bottom here, here's what we hear with this basic drum groove. So the only thing really in play here is this limiter, and this is essentially a brick wall limiter that has pre-configured itself when I loaded the kit. The EQ and the compressor are more or less the same as the EQ and the compressor that we see here. But in the master we also have these delay and reverb effects, which are return effects, which means that you control the amount of the signal being sent from the individual cell. So right now each of these cells is basically configured to send 0 decibels. If I go over to the effects section here, I have to select something that's actually playing here. See, these are sent at 0 decibels. If I actually activate one of these units, the reverb, we come back here, we see that it's sending a signal. Now what I can do to dry out all of these cells, say for example I want the reverb only to apply to one cell, I can come over here to this bottom left hand corner, select that, select all the cells, and then I just come and pull these down to their leftmost point, which is kind of this negative infinity sign. And you'll see also a cool feature about Battery is that as you're making alterations in effects or in master or in other parts as well, it will register what those alterations are in the individual cell that you're working with. Because now we have all of these selected, it's saying that I've selected or that I've turned all of these send effects down to negative infinity. But when you're working with individual cells, that's a handy feature to have. So I'm going to come back over to master. Actually, no, I'm not going to come back over to master. I'm going to dial in some reverb just for this snare by unchecking this bottom left square, and then I'm just going to select the rim, that rim left hit, and I'm going to pull this up. And then you hear that that reverb is only applying to that individual snare, because that's the only one that has any kind of positive setting that's above negative infinity, which is kind of a mathematical paradox, isn't it? Anyway, if I come back over to master, I can also use this same technique to apply the delay. So I can use this delay selectively. And of course the delay has presets of its own. You can kind of play with this and just apply the delay at certain times. Maybe map that to a MIDI controller and just go nuts. So this master section is really a lot of fun to use, and of course you can also use the master presets and just squash the living daylights out of your sound using this overprocess preset, for example. And you see it's using a compressor with a high ratio, and it's using the limiter, it's using the reverb. It's creating this huge squash sound. A lot of these are kind of exaggerated effects. But an interesting thing to do is to select one of them and then kind of go through effect by effect and see what each one of these is set up to do by kind of turning off the others and just turning on that one effect and see what difference it makes to the sound. It's kind of a good way of parsing the different effects. But I hope you found this useful. This is the Master Effects section, and in the next section we'll get into actually using Battery with Ableton Live's routing system. That's a lot of fun. It's very flexible and very powerful. So thanks for joining me. See you again soon.